It's another gorgeous day in South Louisiana. Guys, I guess this is probably the weather today in South Louisiana is probably, if I'd have to guess, what it's like in off the coast of California on most days. Today the weather's perfect. I think the high is in the 70s. The humidity is very low. Looks like it's going to be a great day. I have a listing appointment today. I have a listing appointment tomorrow. I have another appointment with potential clients late this afternoon. It has been very, very busy. I will tell you, lots of people ask me why did I switch companies. So last January, actually I made the official move to Real, which is absolutely the smartest decision I have made in a long time. And prior to me moving, probably about 2 years prior to me moving, I had been following lots and lots and lots of big teams of agents all over the United States, and a lot of them had moved their entire teams over to Real. Well, so I had been watching and thinking about it, Well, believe it or not, during the height of COVID season, I never caught COVID. Everybody around me was catching COVID, and for some reason I didn't catch it. Well, fast forward to March of 2023, and I caught COVID, and it was bad. It was really bad, and I had brain fog most of that year, and I put on a happy face and acted like everything was okay and didn't think I was ever going to get back to normal. And believe it or not, in 2023, in spite of all of that, I still closed 68 transactions, which, listen, on average, if you Google what is the average realtor close in a given year, the last time I checked, it is 5. So to put that into perspective, the average real estate agent closes 5 transactions in any given year, and I closed 68. And I contacted COVID in March of 2023 and literally felt like most of that year like a 95-year-old woman. I had brain fog so bad, I couldn't taste anything, I couldn't smell anything. Driving in Lafayette or Lake Charles, I was always super paranoid because my reflexes were terrible. I quit exercising, and I felt like a walking zombie most of that year. Fast forward to the end of that year in 2023, and I got a call from one of my very dear friends who wanted me to go on a cruise with her and her family in January, and I thank God every day for that call, because I knew that I needed to start back exercising and start eating right, and when I did, about probably 2 weeks into it, my brain started clearing, the fog lifted, and in January of 2025, when I could see clearly again, because when you can't see clearly and you have this fog over you, you just basically are making excuses. So in 2023, I kept seeing all these people move over to Real, move over to Real, move over to Real, and in my mind, I kept thinking, but all these signs that I have everywhere, all these billboards, all these things, right, are going to all have to be changed over to the new brokerage. And I didn't feel good. I was surviving every day, and so I could not wrap my head around switching brokerages. Well, thankfully that call came in December where my friend asked me to go on that cruise with her, and I knew that if I did not start exercising and getting my head right somehow, some way, there's no way I could go on a cruise, right? So the cruise was January 18th, and I started back exercising and eating right and forcing myself to do the things I had always done before around mid-December. And so that's crazy how a difference in exercise makes, really, because that's the only difference I made. The only real change that I made was I started exercising again every single day. Well, when I contracted COVID in March of 2023, I pretty much stopped doing that. I did it all every once in a while, but I didn't do it every single day of my life like I had been doing since 2017. Huge difference in just getting out into the world in the mornings and getting fresh air and exercising is, at least it's in has been a miracle cure for me. So fast forward to real estate life. I switched over in January of 2024 to real, the smartest decision I have ever made. And life has been amazing since I started back exercising again every single day. In fact, it just makes a huge difference in my life. Something I will never do again is quit exercising when I get sick. So 2023 kind of, even though I closed 68 transactions in the year of 2023, it was very much a fog, a blur, a COVID nightmare for me. 2023 was, and I hid it from most of the world. I did. So 2025 has been freaking amazing. The springtime brings out lots and lots and lots of action, lots of sellers, lots of buyers. And let's talk about what's going on right now. So I just want to talk to you about some things. If you're thinking about selling or thinking about buying, I'm going to give you some examples of some stories. I hear from realtors all the time how deals fall apart. And listen, if you're not dealing with a realtor who closes lots and lots and lots of transactions and who is proactive, for my whole life I've been just always thinking about what are some things that can happen if this doesn't happen. And not a worry. Being proactive and setting up yourself for success goes a long way as a buyer or a seller. So for example, right now, I have a house under contract. We're set to close probably next week, right? The appraisal has been ordered. I know from the inspection that the stove doesn't work, right? Well, this is a government loan. This is a government loan on this house. So I have enough sense to know that any appraiser worth their salt, and listen, some of them are very lazy, and some of them do drive-bys, and some of them don't do a thorough job. But I'm not basing this on, I hope that we get a lazy one, because we may very well get a lazy one. But if we get an appraiser in that house, and that stove is not working, that appraiser is going to flag it, which then means the buyer cannot get their loan until the stove is fixed, which then means the seller then has to call somebody out. They have to either go replace the stove or fix it. Then the appraiser is going to have to go back out again, and that means the buyer is then going to have to pay another appraisal fee for that appraiser to go out a second time. None of that should happen, and none of that is the buyer's fault, right? None of it is. They have a government loan. I, as the listing agent, know there are some things that are probably going to get flagged because they have a government loan. It is my responsibility to be proactive and make sure that those things don't get flagged so that appraiser doesn't have to go back out and so that we close on time. That's just one example. Another example, I closed on one a couple of weeks ago, and it was a government loan. In fact, it was a VA. VA loans are the most stringent loans to get through with an appraiser. They are. So the person was buying this house. This house was on a couple of acres. On the acreage was lots and lots of old buildings that were probably built in, I don't know, for the 40s or the 50s. The next strong wind that comes along could very well blow them apart. They were probably eaten up and ridden by wood-destroying insects. So I said to the buyer, on this one I was representing the buyer, not the seller, I guarantee you that an appraiser is going to say all of those buildings, this yard had about 4 of those old buildings. They will need to be torn down and hauled off the property. Any appraiser worth their salt is going to say every single building on that property has to be torn down and moved off the property, okay? So what am I going to say? The sellers, the listing agent said they are selling this property completely as is because it's an inheritance. They're going through a succession. The heirs want nothing to do with doing any work to the property. And listen, that's so common. Very, very, very common, right? Well, as the buyer's agent, I could have very well said to the buyer, listen, you need to find another place. There's no way this one is going to fly VA. There's no way. Just because of those buildings alone. Now listen, there was all kinds of other problems with the house. The house had peeling paint, rotten wood, broken windows. All of those things will be flagged by a government appraiser. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. So the buyer did not want any other property. He loved this house, loved this property. In fact, it's the only one he wanted. It's the only one he was going to buy. But this is what I knew about this buyer. This buyer was a carpenter. So this buyer was prepared to do anything that he needed to do to make sure he got his loan. That is being proactive. That is knowing who your clients are, and that is knowing that you're going to do what you need to do to get it to the closing table, right? So guess what happens? I prepare the buyer. I'm very, very, very proactive, and I say to this buyer, listen, because you're getting a VA loan, the appraiser is going to flag on this house all the cracked windows, all the rotten wood, all the peeling paint, and every building on that property is going to have to be torn down and hauled away. Are you prepared as the buyer to do every single thing on that list and then pay the appraiser to come back out again and make sure you did every single thing the way you needed to so that it'll then fly for your loan? The buyer said, absolutely 1,000,000%, I will do every single thing I need to do because I want to buy this place. Well, guess what? Lo and behold, the appraiser didn't flag one of the buildings. None of them. Not a one single building needed to be torn down or hauled away, okay? Not one. There were multiple cracked windows on that house. They didn't flag any of them. There was plenty of rotten wood. In fact, the entire front porch, I was afraid to walk on it. The entire front porch was rotten and the paint was peeling. It all needed to be torn off and rebuilt and repainted. Didn't flag the porch. When I tell you that appraiser flagged very, very, very little minor things, and the buyer did them probably in a half a day, and we closed. So listen, being proactive is hugely important, but I will never say, I guarantee you this is going to happen, because every single thing in real estate is subjective. Every single thing in real estate is subjective. But the most important thing is to align yourself with a real estate agent who has closed lots and lots and lots and lots of transactions and can say, this may happen, this may happen, this may happen, and you should be proactive in preparing for those things, because if they happen, you know, right? There was one, I closed a couple of weeks ago, there was one with this young couple, and the attic had zero insulation, right? And so they were also getting a government loan, and I said to them, the appraiser is probably going to flag the fact that there is zero insulation in that attic. So what did we do? I represented the buyers only, not the sellers. We asked the seller to put insulation in the attic, okay? The seller said, I will only do it if the appraiser flags it, okay? So that's what I say to the buyer. Are y'all okay with waiting to see if the appraiser says that you need attic insulation? Assuming that the appraiser is probably going to say the attic needs insulation, right? Because it's happened to me numerous times. Do you know that that appraiser did not say that attic needed insulation? Not a speck of insulation was in that attic, and that appraiser did not say that attic needed insulation. This was a government loan. I would have bet my life on the fact that it needed to have insulation, because probably every single other deal I've closed, it has gotten flagged if there wasn't even enough insulation. If it was flat and old and just squished down and wasn't thick enough to suffice for this government loan, the appraiser flagged it. Did not flag this attic because there was not a single bit of insulation in the attic, right? So then what happens? Well, the buyers had agreed that only if the appraiser flagged it would the seller put in insulation. The appraiser didn't flag it. The buyers didn't get insulation. So what did they do after they closed? They put insulation in the attic. So you cannot say, and I'm telling you right now, if you're dealing with a realtor who deals in absolutes and says this absolutely is going to happen, I'm telling you, you can't say that. It's so subjective. I have seen appraisers flag crap that I have never seen them flag before, and I have seen them overlook things that are glaring that even I would have caught, right? Because I'm telling you, sometimes they just don't even walk on the property. Sometimes they look online, they look at the pictures, and they call it a day. And they're not supposed to, but they do, right? So it happens. So listen, in the real estate world, right now, if you are thinking about selling, there are never enough homes for sale. There's never enough land for sale. There is never enough inventory available for the number of buyers who are pre-approved and ready to write an offer. So if you are thinking about selling, springtime is an amazing time. Buyers with children are preparing themselves to switch school zones. They're preparing to end the year knowing where their kids are going to go to school the next year. So they're looking to buy in the next couple of months. So it is a great time to prepare your home. If you're thinking about selling or buying, remember this: in real estate, there are no stupid questions. Ask all your hard questions, and if you're dealing with a realtor that makes you feel like you're petty or you're silly or you shouldn't be asking those questions, run. In Acadiana alone, there are at least 1,800 realtors. There are many to choose from, and I guarantee you, most of them are going to want to answer your questions. Questions are good. It's the only way you're going to learn. Y'all have an amazing rest of the week, and if there's ever anything I can do to help you, either as a buyer or a seller, I would love to have a conversation with you. Y'all have a great day. Take care.